What if I told you that F1's 2025 season brings some of the most controversial rule changes yet? We're talking about flexible front wings, possible bans on team radio, and a complete removal of the fastest lap point. These changes could shift the competitive balance in ways no one saw coming. Let's dive into what's happening. The major discussion topic is the flexi front wings. The FIA initially wanted to tighten regulations on them, but has since changed its mind. This move frustrates teams such as Ferrari and Red Bull, while it could benefit teams such as McLaren and Mercedes. The reason? An adjustable front wing allows a greater advantage from an aerodynamic standpoint on given circuits. Another potential bombshell is the ban on team radio communications. While specifics have yet to be hammered out, this could mean that drivers must make major decisions during the race without their engineers' live input. Picture the pandemonium if it suddenly starts pouring rain or a safety car is called. Now, onto a confirmed rule change: the removal of the fastest lap point. Previously, a driver in the top 10 could earn an extra point for setting the fastest lap. This was a strategy Red Bull and Mercedes often used with their sister teams. However, to prevent manipulation, the FIA has decided to scrap it completely. The rest of the point system remains unchanged for both races and sprint races. And that's just the start. There are even bigger rule changes coming, but how will these impact the teams? This year's season will not only include aerodynamics and strategy, but also address one of the driver's deepest concerns: extreme heat. A new heat hazard is defined, whereby the race director can call a heat hazard if the track temperature exceeds 31 degrees Celsius. Following such a declaration, teams will have to install a cooling system in their cars to insulate drivers from excessive heat exposure. So, how does this cooling system work? It's a fireproof cooling shirt worn by the driver, fitted with fluid tubes running through it. These tubes are connected to a pump and a thermal store, which uses an ice block to generate cooling. Essentially, it functions like a personal air conditioning system for the driver, helping prevent heat exhaustion during the race. To permit this, the FIA has also introduced an increased weight limit rule. An additional 2 kilograms applies to practice, qualifying, and sprint qualifying, while the sprint race and Grand Prix receive an extra 5 kilograms. This is to allow teams to install the cooling system without affecting car performance during qualifying sessions. However, while the weight increase helps, some teams are still concerned about the impact on car balance and fuel efficiency. Will this rule level the playing field for all teams, or will some adapt better than others? With these cooling measures and weight adjustments, F1 is prioritizing driver safety like never before. But could these changes disrupt team strategies and car setups? The season is shaping up to be one of the most unpredictable yet, and there's still more to uncover about the 2025 rulebook. The 2025 season will also bring major changes to F1 testing rules, particularly the TPC, testing of previous cars' regulations. Previously, teams could freely use race-used components during testing, but new restrictions now limit driver participation. Each team will still be allowed 20 days of TPC testing per year, but race drivers will only be allowed to participate in 4 of those days, with a strict 1,000-kilometer limit per driver. This change aims to prevent excessive private testing advantages, while still allowing teams to refine their setups. The need for these limits became evident after incidents like Lewis Hamilton's Barcelona test crash, where testing mileage played a key role in performance evaluation. With fewer test days for race drivers, teams will have to be more strategic in planning who gets seat time and when. But while race drivers face restrictions, rookie drivers are getting more track time than ever before. The FIA has doubled the required FP1 running for rookies, giving them more chances to gain experience during Grand Prix weekends. To qualify, drivers must have 2 or fewer F1 race entries, ensuring only true newcomers benefit from this rule. Additionally, each team must now field a rookie driver in at least 2 FP1 sessions per season, up from just 1 in previous years. This change is a big win for young talents looking to break into F1. With more on-track opportunities, we could see future stars emerge faster than before. However, some teams might struggle to balance this requirement with their race weekend preparations. These testing and rookie rules could shake up the driver lineup dynamics, but will they truly help fresh talent rise, or will top teams find ways to exploit the system? The FIA is making key changes to aerodynamics and qualifying rules in 2025, and some of these decisions have already sparked controversy among top teams. One major update is tightened regulations on DRS drag reduction system. Going forward, only 2 DRS positions, fully open and fully closed, will be allowed. This eliminates the mini DRS loophole that McLaren was exploiting, which allowed them to subtly adjust wing angles beyond the standard DRS opening. This change could impact straight-line speeds and how teams optimize their aerodynamics for overtaking. But perhaps the most divisive update involves flexi front wings. The FIA originally planned to introduce stricter limits on wing flexibility, aiming to prevent excessive movement that could provide unfair downforce advantages. However, they suddenly reversed this decision, meaning teams can continue developing flexible wings within existing limits. This reversal frustrated teams like Ferrari and Red Bull, who were already working on stiffer wing designs in anticipation of the ban. On the other hand, McLaren and Mercedes are expected to benefit, as they didn't invest in rigid wing developments. This change could shift the competitive balance between top teams, leading to potential protests or further regulation tweaks. Meanwhile, the FIA is also introducing new qualifying classification rules, especially for scenarios where sessions are disrupted by bad weather. If qualifying is completely cancelled, the grid will now be set based on the current championship standings. This means that the title leader will automatically start on the pole, potentially making the season-long battle for points even more critical. Additionally, if multiple drivers fail to set a lap time in Q2 or Q3, their starting order will be determined by who started a flying lap first, giving an advantage to drivers who leave the pits earlier. Their best time in the previous session, for example, Q2 times, would decide the Q3 order. These rule changes could lead to more strategic pit lane exits during qualifying and impact how teams approach wet weather weekends. But will they create fairer grids, or will they introduce new controversies? As Formula One prepares for its biggest regulatory overhaul in 2026, the FIA is already laying the groundwork with a mandatory mule car tire test at the end of the 2025 season. This means that every team must provide a second car, a mule car, to test the new 2026 tires. These tires are expected to be a major departure from the current Pirelli compounds, possibly featuring different sizes, construction, or even a completely new supplier. Teams have 2 options for this test. They can either use their 2025 F1 car, which allows them to evaluate the new tires with their latest technology, or they can opt for a car that meets the testing of previous cars' TPC rules. The latter means using an older chassis with modifications specifically for the test. This rule is designed to help teams gather data early for their 2026 car designs, ensuring they don't enter the new era blindly. However, not all teams are happy about the extra cost and resources required to prepare a second car just for testing. From stricter DRS regulations to controversial reversals on flexi wings, the 2025 season will be packed with new challenges. The removal of the fastest lap point could prevent strategic manipulation, but it might also take away a late race incentive for drivers outside the podium fight. The introduction of cooling systems and weight limit changes aims to improve driver safety, but will teams struggle with extra car weight? And with new qualifying rules, will we see more unpredictable grid orders or just more frustration from drivers and teams? And then there's the mule car rule, forcing teams to dedicate resources to testing 2026 tires before they even finalize their next generation cars. What do you think? Will these rules make F1 better, or are they just unnecessary complications? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want to stay ahead of all the latest F1 updates, hit that subscribe button and check out our other videos on the biggest changes coming to the sport.